These are just a few examples. What about you? What activities or behaviors rob you of your happiness? Action step. Design a more empowering environment by completing the corresponding exercises in the workbook section 3. How to change your emotions changing your environment. Use the free workbook, or take a pen and paper, and write down any activities you believe may negatively impact on your emotions. Then for each activity, write down the consequence, e.g. they make you feel guilty, they demotivate you, they erode your self-esteem, etc. 17. Short-term and long-term solutions to deal with negative emotions. No other life form on the planet knows negativity, only humans, just as no other life form violates and poisons the earth that sustains it. Have you ever seen an unhappy flower, or a stressed oak tree? Have you come across a depressed dolphin, a frog that has a problem with self-esteem, a cat that cannot relax, or a bird that carries hatred and resentment? The only animals that may occasionally experience something akin to negativity, or show signs of neurotic behavior, are those that live in close contact with humans and so link into the human mind and its insanity. #DAP #D93 #D90 #D89 #D9 #D9CT #D97 #D94 #D94 #DAT #D90 #DATP #D97 #D9F #DAT #D9 #D97 #D8 Ian #D97 #D9F. In this section, I will provide you with a list of exercises or techniques you can use to better deal with negative emotions. No matter how much control you have over your mind, you'll still experience a whole bunch of negative emotions in the future, from mild frustration to depression. You'd better be prepared. I've listed below some things you can do to deal with negative emotions and have included both long-term and short-term solutions. 1. Short-term solutions. The following techniques will help you manage negative emotions as they arise. Try them out, and keep the ones that work for you. Change your emotional state. Distract yourself. An emotion is only as strong as you allow it to be. Whenever you experience a negative feeling, instead of focusing on it, get busy right away. If you're angry about something, cross something off your to-do list. If possible, do something that requires your full attention. Interrupt. Do something silly or unusual to break the pattern. Shout, do a silly dance, or speak with a strange voice. Move, stand up, go for a walk, do push-ups, dance, or use a power posture. By changing your physiology, you can change the way you feel. Listen to music. Listening to your favorite music may shift your emotional state. Shout, talk to yourself with a loud and authoritarian voice and give yourself a pep talk. Use your voice and words to change your emotions. Take action. Do it anyway, leave your feeling alone, and do what you have to do. Mature adults do what they have to do whether they feel like it or not. Do something about it. Your behavior indirectly changes your feelings. Ask yourself, what action can I take in today to change the way I feel? Then, go do it. Become aware of your emotions. Write it down. Take a pen and paper and write down what you worry about, why, and what you can do about it. Be as specific as possible. Write down what happened. Take a piece of paper and write down what exactly happened to generate the negative emotion. Don't write down your interpretation of it, or the drama you created around it. Write down the raw facts. Now ask yourself, in the grand scheme of your life, is it really that big a deal? Talk. Have a discussion with a friend. You may be overreacting, making things worse than they are. Sometimes, all you need is a different perspective. Remember a time when you felt good about yourself. This can help you get back in that state and gain a new perspective. Ask yourself the following questions. How did it feel? What was I thinking at the time? What was my outlook on life at the time? Let your emotion go. Ask yourself, can I let that emotion go? Then allow yourself to release it. Allow your emotions to be. Stop trying to resist your emotions or to change them. Allow them to be what they are. Embrace your emotion. Stay with your emotions. Look at them as closely as possible while doing your best to remain detached. Become curious about them. What are they exactly at their core? D. Just relax. Rest, take a nap, or a break. When you're tired, you're more likely to experience negative emotions than when you are properly rested. Breathe slowly to relax. The way you breathe affects your emotional state. Use breathing techniques to calm you down, or to give you more energy. Relax, take a few minutes to relax your muscles. Start by relaxing your jaw, the tension around your eyes, and the muscles on your face. Your body affects your emotions. As you relax your body, your mind also relaxes. Bless your problems, thank your problems. Understand they are here for a reason, and will serve you in some way. 2. Long-term solutions. The following techniques will help you manage your negative emotions long-term. Analyze your negative emotions. Identify the story behind your emotions. Take a pen and paper, and write down all the reasons why you have these emotions in the first place. What assumptions do you hold? How did you interpret what's happening to you? Now, see if you can let go of this particular story. Write down your emotions in a journal. Take a few minutes each day to write down how you felt. Look for recurrent patterns. Then use affirmations, visualization, or a relevant exercise to help you overcome these emotions. Practice mindfulness. Observe your emotions throughout the day. Meditation will help you do this. Another way is simply to engage in an activity while being fully present. As you're doing this, observe what's going on in your mind. Move away from negativity. Change environment. If you're surrounded by negativity, change your environment. Move to a different place, or reduce the time you spend with negative friends. Remove counterproductive activities. Remove or reduce the time you spend on any activity not having a positive impact on your life. This could be reducing the time you spend watching TV or surfing the internet. Condition your mind. Create daily rituals. This will help you to experience more positive emotions. Meditate, exercise, repeat affirmations, create a gratitude journal, and so on. The best time to deposit positive thoughts in your mind is right before going to sleep and first thing in the morning. Exercise regularly. Exercise improves your mood and is good for your emotional and physical health. Increase your energy. The less energy you have, the more likely you are to experience negative emotions. Improve your sleep. Make sure you get enough sleep. If possible, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Eat healthier food. As the saying goes, you are what you eat. Junk food will negatively impact your energy levels, so take steps to improve your diet. Rest. Take regular naps or take a few minutes to relax. Breathe. Learn to breathe properly. Ask for help. Consult a professional. If you have deep emotional issues such as extreme low self-esteem or depression, it might be wise to consult a professional. Action step. Write down one short-term and one long-term technique you want to use. Ask yourself, among the items on the list, what is the one technique that will best help me deal with negative emotions? Section 3. How to change your emotions. Short-term solutions, long-term solutions. Part 4. How to use your emotions to grow. I suggest to you that every situation, every moment, provides the opportunity for self-growth and development of your character. Reality keeps bringing us circumstances. Sometimes I picture them as waves breaking on the shore, and we have the chance to keep merging with that reality to fit ourselves to it, to dive into those waves. D#D89 #D9E #D91 #D8CKR #D80 #D1 #D96 #D97 #D94 #D8C #D9B #D89 #D9D #D9C #D90 #D97 #D9 #D97 #D8EC #D97 #D96 #D9B #D9C #D9 #D9D #D8B #D9C #D91 #D90 #D8DL #D91 #D9E #D91 #D96 #D8F. We've seen what emotions are, how they are formed, and how you can reprogram your mind to experience more positive emotions. Now, let's see how you can use your emotions as a tool for personal growth. Most people underestimate how useful emotions can be. They never truly realize they can use their emotions to grow. Think of it this way. Your emotions send you a message. They tell you that your current interpretation of reality is biased. The problem is never reality, but the way you interpret it. Never forget, you have the power to find meaning and joy even in the worst situations. For instance, Alice Sommer had every reason in the world to feel hopeless. She was imprisoned in a concentration camp during World War II and didn't know how long she had left to live. She, nevertheless, found joy. As she recalls, "I was always laughing. We were lying on the floor with my son, and he saw me laughing. How can a child not laugh when the mother laughs?" A hashtag D94 hashtag D91 hashtag DAP hashtag D8DS hashtag D97 hashtag D95 hashtag D95 hashtag D8D hashtag D9A. Nick Vujicic believed he would never be happy. After all, he was born with no arms or legs. As he said in one of the lectures he gave at a school, "What kind of husband am I gonna be if I can't even hold my wife's hand?" And hashtag D91 hashtag DAP hashtag D93V hashtag D9D hashtag D92 hashtag D91 hashtag DAP hashtag D91 hashtag DAP. Under these circumstances, nobody would have blamed him if he had remained bitter all his life. However, he overcame his challenges, and today, in addition to being a successful motivational speaker, he's a happy husband and father of two. These two examples show us we can overcome even the most challenging situations. They show us negative emotions don't last forever. Challenging times in our life are often the events that allow us to grow as human beings. Even a complete nervous breakdown can serve as a wake-up call for people. In this section, you'll learn how emotions work and how you can use them to grow, while simultaneously reducing the emotional suffering they create. 18. How emotions can guide you in the right direction. Emotions come and go and, ultimately, can't define you. But it doesn't mean they don't have a role to play. They can foster your personal growth by reminding you of what you already know: you need to make changes in your life. The more you ignore your emotions, the louder they will become. It starts with a small voice, a gut feeling, or an intuitive knowledge. As you dismiss this sign, it gets louder. Keep ignoring your emotions, and your body will begin to talk in the same way as you experience physical pain. For instance, let's say you feel an emotion you identify as stress. This tells you to make changes in your life. It could involve moving away from a stressful situation, improving the situation, or changing how you interpret it. One thing is sure, you need to do something about it. If you keep ignoring stress or the stressor, it may result in severe health issues. The bottom line is your emotions send you a message. In the same way that physical pain tells you something is wrong with your body, emotional suffering tells you something is wrong with your mind. The power of self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the most important components of your personal growth. Without it, you can't do much to change your life, since you can't change a problem unless you realize it exists. So, what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is your ability to observe objectively your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without adding your own interpretation or story to it. Above or below the line. In the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, Jim Deifmer and Diana Chapman introduced a very simple yet powerful model to help increase self-awareness. This model is extremely simple, a single line. The authors argue that, at any time, you're either above or below the line. When you're above the line, you're open, curious, and willing to learn, but when you're below the line, you want to be correct, and, as a result, you tend to be defensive and closed to new ideas. Put it simply, when you're above the line, you're conscious; when you're below the line, you're unconscious. Whether you are above or below the line depends on your emotional state. When you sense a threat to your physical survival or to your ego, you fall below the line and try to protect yourself in order for you or your ego to survive. Conversely, when you operate above the line, you're in a positive state of mind. Your creativity, innovation, and collaboration are at their best, resulting in enhanced performance. Your ability to recognize when you fall below the line largely determines how well you can control your emotional state. You can't change an emotion if you don't notice its presence. This is what being aware or conscious means. Below are some examples of above the line and below the line behaviors. Above the line, you are curious, listening consciously, feeling emotions, discussing without being argumentative, appreciating, taking responsibility and questioning your beliefs. Below the line, you are clinging to an opinion, finding fault, arguing, rationalizing and justifying, gossiping, enrolling others to affirm your beliefs and attacking the messenger. Fear versus love. Another simple model you can use is the fear versus love model. Throughout your day, you either act out of fear or out of love. You act out of fear when your focus is on getting something, be it other people's approval or attention, money or power. On the other hand, when you act out of love, your main focus is on giving, be it your time, money, love, or attention. You want to share and improve the lives of people around you, not for your own interest, but simply for the sake of it. While your actions can simultaneously reflect your desire to give and to receive, one or other of these components is generally more pronounced. To master your emotions, you must learn to identify whether you're acting out of love or fear. For instance, look at one of your major life goals. Is it a fear-based goal or a love-based goal? Are you trying to give and contribute to the world, or are you trying to take from it? For instance, let's say you want to become an actor. Some of the reasons for that could be the following. 1. Making money. 2. Being famous. 3. Proving to your parents and friends you're good enough. 4. Entertaining people. 5. Expressing yourself. The first three examples are usually fear-based behaviors. You want to fill a void within yourself and demonstrate how good you are. The final two examples are love-based behaviors that stress a desire to express your gift to the world. As we discuss in greater depth how different emotions work, keep in mind these two models, above/below the line, and fear-based versus love-based actions. Note that throughout your day you often alternate between love-based behaviors and fear-based behaviors. For instance, you may be absorbed by a task that helps people and make you feel complete. In this moment, you don't need anything. 5 minutes later you may imagine how proud your father will be once you finally earn a promotion. In this moment, you're no longer feeling complete. Instead, you are trying to get something in this situation, your father's approval. Start noticing the underlying motivations behind your actions. As you do so, you'll begin to realize you spend a considerable amount of time trying to earn other people's approval, whether they be your colleague, your boss, your parents, or your partner. Notice this and ask yourself what you can do to move from wanting to get to wanting to give. Now, with these two models in mind, let's see how you can bring more awareness to the emotions you experience in your day-to-day life. 19. Recording your emotions. The first step to improve the way you feel is to become more aware of the emotions you experience on a regular basis. Before you can generate more positive emotions, you must first determine your starting point. To shed a light on the emotions you're experiencing in your daily life, I invite you to record your emotions for an entire week. Use a notebook or the downloadable worksheet to do so. Spend a couple of minutes each day to record how you feel and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst you can feel and 10 being the best you can feel. At the end of the week, give yourself an overall score and answer the following questions. What negative emotions did you experience? What caused these emotions? What are the hard facts? Did you have specific thoughts that lead you to feel that way? Did external events trigger these negative emotions? Did you lack sleep? Did you become ill? Were you in an accident? What really happened? Not in your mind, but in the physical world, what was your interpretation of the facts? What would you need to believe to feel that way? Are your beliefs accurate? Could you have felt better by interpreting thoughts or events differently? How did you return to your neutral state? What happened exactly? Did you change your thoughts? Did you take action on things you were avoiding doing? Did it just happen naturally? What could you have done to avoid or reduce these negative emotions? Concrete example. Let's say you record your emotions for a week and notice that you were mildly depressed for a couple of days. Here is what it could look like. What caused this emotion? I was asked to do a task at work and felt unable or incompetent to complete it. What really happened? I was asked to complete a task and I did it. What was your interpretation of the facts? I felt like I was incompetent and everybody in the office, but me, could do the task. I felt as though I should have been able to do the task well. I felt as though everybody was judging me. What would you need to believe to feel that way? I would need to believe I am incompetent. Being incompetent is unacceptable. I should have been able to do that task. Everyone is judging me. Are your beliefs true? Are you really incompetent? Maybe I'm biased and I judged myself too harshly. Is being incompetent unacceptable? No. The fact is, I cannot always be competent at everything. Should you be able to do that task? I haven't much experience performing similar tasks, and there was no way I could do it without asking for help. Is it true that everyone judging you? Some people may judge me, but that's probably not true of everyone. It's also possible nobody really cares. After all, they have their own issues to deal with. And what if nobody noticed? Or perhaps I did okay, and the negativity is all in my mind. How did you return to your neutral state? I realized it was actually no big deal. I asked a colleague whether I did the task correctly. He helped me and gave me some advice. He also recommended some good books to help improve my skills. What could you have done differently to avoid or reduce this negative emotion? I could have asked someone to help me instead of trying to do everything on my own. As you go through this process, you'll notice what causes you to experience negative emotions. You'll be able to identify self-defeating behaviors and overcome them using daily conditioning and affirmation. Additional tip. Remember to write down how you feel each day using a dedicated journal. This will help you detach yourself from your emotions as you realize ups and downs are a normal part of living. Action step. Record your emotions using the workbook section IV. How to use your emotions to grow. Record your emotions. 20. Not being good enough. When I won the Oscar, I thought it was a fluke. I thought everybody would find out, and they'd take it back. They'd come to my house knocking on the door. Excuse me, we meant to give that to someone else. That was going to Meryl Streep. J #D97 #D8C #D91 #D8DF #D97 #D9B #D9C #D8D #D9A. You think? Why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this? M #D8D #D9A #D1 #D94S #D9C #D9A #D8D #D8D #D98. Do you feel as though you aren't good enough? Guess what? You're not the only one. The other day I wrote the following to a fellow blogger. There are a lot of topics I could write about, but there are already so many books out there. Sometimes, I'm like, what's the point? He replied, I know the feeling of, what's the point? Everything worth saying has already been said. And who am I to write about it anyway? What have I achieved so far? Well, I guess it's natural. Good to know that we're not the only ones struggling. Whether or not you're aware of it, millions of people feel the same way. The feeling of not being good enough alone must have killed more dreams than anything else. And who has never felt that way? Here is a non-exhaustive list of how I felt in my life. I'm not a good enough writer, I'm not charismatic enough, I'm not competent enough, I'm not confident enough. I'm not courageous enough, I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not good enough at public speaking, I'm not handsome enough. I'm not inspiring enough. I'm not interesting enough, I'm not making enough money, I'm not muscular enough. I'm not patient enough. I'm not perseverant enough, I'm not proactive enough. I'm not productive enough, I'm not smart enough. I'm not taking enough action, I'm not tough enough. I'm not working hard enough, my English isn't good enough, my Japanese isn't good enough, and my memory isn't good enough. And I could go on. People who feel they aren't good enough tend to have low self-esteem. They focus on what they aren't good at while filtering out all the things they are good at. Try complimenting them, and all you'll hear is, "It's no big deal." Worse, they may even think you're being polite or trying to manipulate them. These people have a hard time accepting compliments. Instead of a simple thank you, they return the compliment or downplay their role. Perhaps you're acting the same way. See if you do one of the following things when receiving a compliment. 1. Dismiss the whole thing as being no big deal, anybody could have done it. 2. Talk about all the things you did wrong while explaining what you could have done better. 3. Try to return the compliment, "Thank you. I think you did a fantastic job too." Notice your inability to accept a compliment 100% in the 3 cases above. You may not only brush off your accomplishments, but also magnify every single of your failure to reinforce the case you aren't worthy. You keep a long list of your failures, unwilling to let go of them as they fit your story. Who would you be if you were no longer the man or woman who's never good enough? As strange as it may seem, there's something scary about that. At least, the certainty of not being good enough gives you some comfort. Imagine what would happen if you release the hold you have on your story, try something you've always wanted to do and fail. What you suspected for a long time would become true: you aren't good enough. Or worse, what would happen if you were to succeed? How would that fit into your story? Remember, your brain is biased towards negativity. Adding your own bias will certainly not help you feel good about yourself. The fact is, you do most things well. Although a lack of experience, interest, or talent may explain why you aren't doing as well as you would like to in certain areas, it has nothing to do with you not being good enough. How to use the feeling of not being good enough to grow. Not feeling good enough is a sign of low self-esteem. Many people experience low self-esteem in various degrees. I certainly do. For some, every single thing they do is insufficient. For others, they feel inadequate only in certain situations or areas of their life. Wherever you are on the self-esteem spectrum, you can probably benefit from a boost in your self-esteem. Identifying what triggers your feelings of inadequacy. The first step is to find out what triggers these feelings. What thoughts are you identifying with? Which areas of your life are concerned? Take a few minutes to write down the following. The situations in which you feel like you aren't good enough, and the thoughts you identify with, your story. Keeping track of your accomplishments. The second step is to keep track of your accomplishments. Not feeling good enough often results from the biased view you hold about yourself. You focus on your shortcomings, failing to acknowledge your successes. People with healthy self-esteem tend to look at themselves in a more objective way, acknowledging both their shortcomings and their strengths. To improve your self-esteem, start acknowledging all the things you're doing well. The following exercises will help you do that. Exercise 1. Create a win log. One of the best ways to acknowledge your accomplishments is to write them down. For this exercise, I encourage you to use your dedicated notebook. 1. First, write down everything you've accomplished in your life. Come up with a list of 50 things. If you run out of things, write smaller accomplishments. This will help you realize how much you've already accomplished. 2. At the end of each day, write down all the things you've accomplished that day. It can be simple things such as: I woke up on time. I exercised and I ate a healthy breakfast. Try to come up with 5 to 10 things each day. Exercise 2. Fill up your self-esteem jar. An alternative is to write down each thing you've accomplished on separate pieces of paper and put them into a jar. Here are a few recommendations to ensure you make the most out of this exercise. Make sure your jar or any other container you use is in a visible location. The best location is probably on your desk. The second best location is your bedroom. Select a container you like. Choose a design you're fond of. It's all about your self-esteem, so anything that makes you feel good is advisable. Make sure it is transparent, so that you can see it filling up. Give it a positive name, e.g. my self-esteem jar, declaration of love to myself, etc. Write your accomplishment on a paper you love. For instance, use different colors so that when the jar fills up, it creates something pleasant to the eye. One idea would be to use origami paper. Write with your favorite pen. The idea is to show more respect towards yourself by acknowledging your multiple accomplishments. Exercise 3. Create a positive journal. You can also create a journal to write down every compliment you received that day. Your colleague told you your shoes look nice. Write it down. Your friend complimented your hair. Write it down. Your boss told you how well you did at a task. Write it down as well. Don't question the sincerity of these compliments. Always assume they are genuine. The idea is to train your mind to focus on the positive things that happen in your life. They are happening whether or not you acknowledge them. Here is how to make the most of that exercise. Buy a notebook you like. Personalize it, add stickers, draw something, add pictures, or use different colors. Don't want to do any of this stuff? That's fine as well. It's your journal. Keep it with you, carry it with you, and look for new compliments to add to your amazing collection. Optional. Review it every day, go through old entries and mentally thank people who complimented you. You can say, thank you, insert name, I love you. Feel free to read the old entries in the morning, in the evening, or both, or whenever you feel like it. It's up to you. Again, this is your journal. These are just suggestions. Whatever works for you. Learning to accept compliments. Chances are you have difficulties accepting compliments. Do the following sentences look familiar? It's never a big deal. Everybody could have done it. It's because so-and-so helped you. I could have done it better. Here is a great reason why you should accept compliments, because the person who made the compliment wants you to receive it, not to flush it down the toilets. Imagine you just gave a gift to someone. How would you feel if that person, after opening the box, dropped the gift to the floor, stepped on it, and threw it away? You won't like it, would you? Sadly, that's what we often do when we receive a compliment. When we refuse to accept a compliment, we are disrespecting the person who went out of their way to deliver it. Wouldn't you want your compliment to be accepted wholeheartedly? Exercise 1. Accept compliments. This simple exercise will help you accept a compliment. Whenever someone compliments you, say the following. Thank you, insert the person's name. That's it. There is nothing simpler. No, thank you, but thank you, you too, or it wasn't a big deal. Simply say thank you. Here is how to make the most of that exercise. Say thank you out loud and clearly. You may discover you have the tendency to repress your feelings, and end up saying thank you almost mechanically. In fact, you may realize you've never really said thank you with all your heart. Let it sink in. Before you start a new sentence, give space for the feeling of gratitude to express itself. Don't downplay the compliment, or explain why you're worthy, or unworthy of it. Tell it the way you feel it. Show your appreciation by telling the person who complimented you how you feel. You may experience resistance. Many of us have difficulties expressing gratitude, because our pride prevents us from doing so. After all, we're strong and don't need anybody's help or compliments, do we? We don't want to feel vulnerable. If you experience resistance and find the exercise difficult, recognize this as normal. Your ability to accept a compliment can be a good indicator of your level of self-esteem. Practice accepting compliments and allow yourself to feel vulnerable. Accepting you're worthy of compliments will help you boost your self-esteem. Exercise to the appreciation game. The purpose of this game is to learn to appreciate things in yourself you didn't previously acknowledge or like. It will work well if you have a partner you can play the game with on a regular basis. Tell your partner 3 things you appreciate in them and ask them to do the same. Be as specific as possible, and don't worry about coming up with big things. Here are some examples. I appreciate that you prepared breakfast this morning even though you were in a rush. I appreciate that you picked up the kids today. I appreciate the way you always listen to my problems after work. To go further, self-esteem is a complex topic. It affects a lot of people and is often misunderstood. Overcoming low self-esteem takes time and effort. If you regularly feel you aren't good enough, I encourage you to refer to the following books. If upon reading these books, you realize you have severe and chronic self-esteem issues, you may want to consult a specialist. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden, Ph.D. Breaking the Chain of Low Self-Esteem by Marilyn Sorenson, Ph.D. Low Self-Esteem Misunderstood and Diagnosed, Why You May Not Find the Help You Need by Marilyn Sorenson, Ph.D. Below is a brief summary of some of the main ideas in each book. In his book, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, Nathaniel Branden identified 6 practices or pillars of self-esteem you can work on to develop a healthier self-esteem. 1. Living consciously. In Nathaniel Branden's words, to live consciously means to seek to be aware of everything that bears on our actions, purposes, value, and goals to the best of our ability, whatever that ability may be, and to behave in accordance with that which we see and know. 2. Self-acceptance is choosing to value yourself, to treat yourself with respect, and to stand up for your right to exist. Self-acceptance is the basis upon which self-esteem develops. 3. Self-responsibility is realizing no one is coming to save you and you are responsible for your life. It is accepting that you are responsible for your choices and actions. You are responsible for how you use your time and for your happiness. Because only you can change your life. 4. Self-assertiveness means honoring your wants, needs, and values and seeking appropriate forms of their expression in reality. 5. Living purposefully is to use your powers to achieve the goals you have selected. In other words, it's your ability to set and achieve goals in every area of your life. 6. Personal integrity is behaving in a way that matches your ideals, convictions, and beliefs. It's when you can look at yourself in the mirror and know you're doing the right thing. In Breaking the Chain of Low Self-Esteem, Marilyn Sorenson provides a great overview of what self-esteem is and how it works. The author explains that low self-esteem stems from the negative perception you hold of yourself, a perception that is largely, if not entirely, based on your negative interpretations of past experiences. This distorted perception of reality leads you to experience fear and anxiety. Your family environment may have played a big part. Perhaps your parents have repeatedly put you down, making you feel as though nothing you did was ever good enough. You may now firmly believe you are less worthy than others. As a result, you filter everything based on this negative image of yourself. It's as if you were looking at reality through tinted glasses, glasses that discard praise and compliments, remembering only criticisms. The examples in her books will help you understand how self-esteem issues manifest in real life. In addition, Ms. Sorenson provides dozens of practical exercises to help you become more aware of your self-esteem issues and provide you the tool to develop a healthier self-esteem. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow not being good enough. 21. Being defensive. Our love of being right is best understood as our fear of being wrong. K hashtag D89 hashtag D9C hashtag D90 hashtag D9 hashtag D1 hashtag D96S hashtag D8 hashtag D90 hashtag D90 hashtag D94 hashtag D2 hashtag D92 hashtag D97 hashtag D90 hashtag D9 hashtag D96 hashtag D89 hashtag D94 hashtag D91 hashtag D90 hashtag D9C hashtag D89 hashtag D96 hashtag D8C hashtag D89 hashtag D9 hashtag D9C hashtag D90 hashtag D97 hashtag D9. Do you constantly justify yourself? Are you offended whenever someone insults you or disrespects you? There are very specific reasons why you get defensive. By becoming conscious of these reasons, you'll learn a lot about yourself and be able to let go of that desire to defend yourself. First, let's see why you get defensive. Why you get defensive. The need to defend yourself stems from your desire to protect your story or your ego. Every time your ego is threatened, you are triggered and feel the need to defend it. I believe there are three main reasons why you are triggered. 1. There is part of truth in what you were told. 2. You believe there is part of truth in what you were told. 3. A core belief you hold has been attacked. Note that because we all have different stories, what triggers you might not trigger someone else. 1. There is part of truth in what you were told. Someone mentions something that is true about you and it hurts. For instance, he or she may accuse you of procrastinating on a certain project. Your inability to accept that truth is the reason you become defensive. When that topic is brought up, it triggers emotional reactions such as anger, denial or self-criticism. 2. You believe there is part of truth in what you were told. You were told something you believe to be true and feel hurt. In this case, the criticisms you receive may be unfounded. Yet, you still feel hurt. Why is that? It's because what you were told confirms the disempowering beliefs you hold about yourself. For instance, let's say you believe you aren't good enough. This belief pushes you to work harder than anybody else. Now, how would you feel if someone accused you of being lazy? You would feel offended, wouldn't you? However, that wouldn't be because you're actually lazy, but because of your belief that you should work harder. 3. One of your core beliefs has been attacked. Someone directly or indirectly attacks one of your core beliefs, and you feel the need to defend yourself. This could be a religious belief, a political belief, or a more general belief about the world or yourself. The more attached you are to this belief, the stronger your emotional reaction will be. Here is a great example. Because they believed Donald Trump was evil, some liberals had strong emotional reactions after he was elected president. Some shouted and even became violent. On the other hand, many conservatives were delighted by Trump's victory. How come people can react so differently to the same event? This is because of their core beliefs. Both Democrats and Republicans strongly identify with their political beliefs. This led hardcore Democrats to burst into tears and hardcore Republicans to rejoice. Whenever a belief you're strongly attached to is attacked or challenged, you'll experience an emotional reaction. The deeper the belief is, the stronger the emotional reaction will be when it is attacked. An extreme example would be someone ready to kill anybody who dares to criticize his or her religion. How to use this emotion to grow. Look at the situations that triggers you. Whenever you feel offended, ask yourself why. What belief led you to defend yourself? Can you let go of this belief? And is this belief really true? By doing this, you'll learn a great deal about yourself. You'll be able to let go of beliefs that aren't serving you well, and you'll realize that, in most cases, you don't even need to defend yourself. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow getting defensive. Whenever you become defensive, remember to ask yourself the following questions. What am I trying to protect here? Can I let go of that belief? What would I be without that belief? 22. Stress and worry. Within every worry is an opportunity for positive action. In every lie, there is a kernel of truth. Behind every neurotic symptom is the misdirected desire to live fully and well. D#D89 #D90 #D91 #D8CKR #D80 #D1 #D96 #D97 #D94 #D8C #D9BC #D97 #D96 #D9B #D9C #D9 #D90 #D8B #D9C #D91 #D90 #D8DL #D91 #D90 #D91 #D96 #D8F. Have you ever wondered what stress is and why you experience it? Most people believe a situation can be stressful. The truth is stress doesn't exist outside of yourself, and therefore no situation can be said to be stressful in itself. Yet, my guess is you experience stress on a regular basis. And probably more often than you would like to. Stress alone is responsible for tens of thousands of deaths every year. Stress does more harm than many diseases and leaves countless families grieving the loss of a loved one. This is why it is essential you take active steps towards reducing your stress levels. Taking responsibility for your stress. Stress is something you have some control over and therefore must take responsibility for. The more you take responsibility for it, the better you'll be able to reduce it. Stress happens for various reasons and manifests in numerous situations. The traffic jam on your way to work, a business presentation, tensions with your boss, or frequent disputes with your spouse, all constitute potential sources of stress. There are two ways you can reduce stress. By avoiding situations you perceive as stressful and by becoming better at dealing with stressful situations. We'll see how you can use these methods to reduce your stress levels. How you can use stress to grow. Exercise. Make a list of your major sources of stress. Let's look at specific situations that are sources of stress for you. Using the workbook, write down what causes the most stress in your typical week. Come up with at least 10 things. Reframing stress. Emotions arise as a result of your interpretation of events. The mere fact you experience stress, or any other emotion, means you've added your own interpretation to what is happening. Otherwise, you would have a stress-free life. Now, look at your list of stressful situations. For each situation, ask yourself the following questions. Is that situation stressful in itself? What do I need to believe to experience stress in that specific situation? What would I need to believe to reduce or remove stress in that particular situation? Let's say you're stuck in a traffic jam and you find it stressful. Is that situation stressful in itself? No, not necessarily. The traffic jam exists, and there is nothing wrong with it, per se. What would I need to believe to experience stress in that specific situation? I would need to believe there shouldn't be any traffic jams, and therefore something is wrong. The traffic jam is a stressful event in itself. I should be where I need to go, instead of being stuck in traffic. I can do something about it. What would I need to believe to remove stress in that particular situation? I would need to believe that a traffic jam is a normal event like anything else. I don't necessarily have to experience stress just because I'm stuck in traffic. I'm here caught in a traffic jam, and I don't need to be there, wherever I want to go for a while. I can't do anything about it, so I might as well enjoy it, or at least don't stress over it. Dealing with worry. Worry differs from stress as it isn't the result of something you experience in the present, but a concern you have regarding events from the past or events that may happen in the future. You experience stress when you face a stressful situation in the present moment. For instance, a stressful situation would be being stuck in a traffic jam, or having your boss yell at you. Worrying would be remembering, past, or anticipating imagining these stressful situations' future. Interestingly, most of your worries are unnecessary for the following reasons. They happened in the past, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about them and/or They may happen in the future, and you can't control the future. Exercise. Make a list of your worries. Make a list of things you worry about, past or future. They may be similar to the things you wrote in the previous exercise. Examples of things you may worry about are your health, your financial situations, your work, your relationships, and/or your family. Now, write at least 10 things you tend to worry about in a typical week. Sorting out your worries. Constant worry results from trying to control events over which you have no control. When you do so, you create unnecessary stress in your life. To deal with stress and overcome chronic worries more effectively, it is essential you learn to sort out worries. An effective way to do this is to separate the things you have control over from the things you have no control over. You can divide your worries into 3 separate categories. 1. Things you have control over. 2. Things you have some control over. And 3. Things you have no control over whatsoever. 1. Things you have control over. This category includes things such as your actions and behaviors. For instance, you can choose what to say and how to say it. You can also decide what actions you'll take to achieve your goals. 2. Things you have some control over. There are things you have only limited control over, such as a competition or a job interview. You can't be absolutely certain you'll win a tennis match, but you do have some control over its outcome. For instance, you can choose to train harder or hire a great coach. Similarly, you can prepare for a job interview by conducting extensive research about the company you apply to, or by doing a mock interview. You don't, however, have absolute control over the outcome of the interview. 3. Things you have no control over. Unfortunately, there are also many things you have no control over. These are things such as the weather, the economy, or traffic jams. Exercise. Sort out your worries. Look at your list of stressful situations. Next to each item put C control, SC some control, or NC no control. This simple act of sorting out your worries already helps reduce them. As you identify things you have no control over, you can let go of your urge to worry. Now, for things you have some control over, write down what you could do about it. What concrete actions could you take to alleviate them? For things you have no control over, can you let go of your need to control them, and, instead, accept them? Taking 100% responsibility for your stress and worries. What if you had more control over your worries than you believe? Look at the situations you have no control over and ask yourself, if I had control over them, what would I do? What would it look like? And how could I prevent them from happening? Often you'll realize you have some control over these situations. This can be by changing, reframing, or eliminating them from your life. Let's say you identify traffic jams as something you have no control over. This sounds reasonable. Once you're caught in the traffic jam, you can't do much about it. But, could you do things differently? For instance, could you leave home earlier or take a different route? What about reframing the situation? Instead of escaping the situation mentally, you could choose to be fully present by making traffic jams a productive part of your day. You could then make the most of it by listening to audiobooks. Imagine how much you could learn if you listen to audiobooks every working day for an entire year. Go over your list and look for things you have no control over. Write down what you could do to change, reframe, or eliminate these events. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow stress, worry. 23. Caring what people think of you. How on earth can another's thought about you harm you? It is your thought about his thought that harms. Change your thought. D hashtag D80 hashtag D90 hashtag D96 hashtag D97 hashtag D96H hashtag D97 hashtag D9F hashtag D89 hashtag D90 hashtag D8CT hashtag D90 hashtag D8DP hashtag D97 hashtag D9F hashtag D80 hashtag D90 hashtag D97 hashtag D8EY hashtag D97 hashtag D9D hashtag D9S hashtag D9D hashtag D98 hashtag D8D hashtag D90 hashtag D95 hashtag D91 hashtag D96 hashtag D8C. Are you overly self-conscious? In this section, I'll explain why you care so much what people think of you, and what you can do to alleviate the situation. You are the most important person in the world. First, realize you are the most important person in the world. If you don't believe me, remember the last time you felt intense pain. Perhaps it was toothache or surgery, or maybe you broke your leg in an accident. What were you thinking back then? Were you concerned about the famine in Africa? Did you worry about innocent people being killed in wars in the Middle East? No. The only thing you wanted is for the pain to go away. This is because you are the most important person in the world. Since you must live with yourself 24/7, it is normal to be concerned about your own mental and physical well-being. You have to realize the same goes for every other human on the planet. For me, you're not the most important person in the world, I am. And from their perspective, so are your close friends, family members and colleagues. Because you live with yourself 24/7, you incorrectly assume, often unconsciously, people think about you significantly more often than they actually do. In fact, for the most part, people do not care about you. While it may sound depressing, it's actually liberating. It means you don't have to worry so much what people think of you. As the famous saying goes, when you're 20 you care what everyone thinks, when you're 40, you stop caring what everyone thinks, and when you're 60 you realize no one was ever thinking about you in the first place. While you keep track of all your mistakes and awkward moments, nobody else does. People are simply too busy worrying about themselves. In short, people don't keep track of your past failures. Read everything you post on social media. Remember your awkward moments. Think of you very often, or care about you as much as you care about yourself. Not everybody will love you. You care what other people think of you because you want them to approve of you. You assume the best way to do that is to avoid making waves. As a result, you may spend your whole life trying to be the perfect person, hoping to be loved. However, it usually doesn't work. No matter how great you are, some people won't like you. You may try to fix the image people have of you, but that won't work either. People will still see you the way they want to, because of their own values and beliefs. Thus, if you base your self-worth on what people think of you, you'll always be at the mercy of the approval of others. What will happen if they suddenly disapprove of you? Unfortunately, no amount of external approval will compensate for a lack of self-approval. By trying so hard to be loved by everybody, you risk living a dull life in which you're unable to express your personality. You'll end up mimicking your friends, pleasing everybody around you, but forgetting to please the most important person in the world, you. What people think of you is none of your business. You're not responsible for people's thoughts. In fact, what people think of you is none of your business. Your job is to express your personality the best way you can while having the purest intent possible. In short, your responsibility is to do your best to be your true self. Then, people may or may not like you, and either way is fine. Remember, the most influential people such as presidents and statesmen and women are often hated by millions. Therefore, don't make it your personal mission to change people's image of you. People are entitled to their beliefs and values, and they have the right to dislike you. They are free to interpret your actions and behaviors through their own filter. Part of your personal growth is to accept you don't have to be liked by everybody, and finally, you can be yourself. How to use this emotion to grow. Being overly self-conscious means 1. You have a distorted view of the way people perceive you, and 2. You are attached to a self-image you want to protect. To stop being so self-conscious, you must address these 2 points. 1. Change your interpretation of the way people perceive you. To care less about what people think of you, it is essential for you to redefine your relationships with other people. This entails realizing that, in general, people don't care about you, and you don't care about people. Exercise 1. Realizing people don't care. This exercise will help you understand at a deep level, most people are not really concerned about you. Choose one person you know. It might be a friend, an acquaintance, or a colleague. Ask yourself how often you think about that person in your daily life. Now, put yourself in the shoes of that person. How much do you imagine he or she thinks about you during an average day? How much does he or she keep track of what you do or say? What do you think he or she is worrying about right now? Repeat this process with at least 2 more people. As you do this exercise, you'll probably realize other people are simply too busy to think of you often. After all, they live with themselves 24/7. In their own eyes, they are the most important person in the world, not you. And this is only to be expected. Exercise 2. Realizing you do not care. You're not that concerned about other people either. The following exercise will make you realize this. Go through your day, and try to remember all the people you met or interacted with. It might be the waitress or the customers in the restaurant you lunched in, the people you saw on the street, and so on. Ask yourself how much you thought about these people prior to this exercise. You probably didn't think of them at all, did you? As you can see, you don't really have time to worry about other people. Most of the time you are concerned only about yourself. It's not to say you have no compassion or are a selfish jerk. You're merely being human. Stop being overly attached to your self-image. If you are overly self-conscious, chances are you worry too much about the way people perceive you. Perhaps you want their approval or are afraid they will judge you. It is essential you learn to let go of this self-image. Exercise letting go of your self-image. Write down all the things you're afraid to be judged on. Maybe you worry about your look, or you're afraid of saying something silly. Write down why you care. What is the issue here? What image are you trying to protect? Do people believe you're smart and you're afraid you can't live up to this image? Are you afraid of being rejected as a result of saying something wrong? This exercise will bring awareness to the things you're worrying about, and will help you address them. In addition, don't forget to complete the exercises mentioned in the section, Letting Go of Your Emotions. Finally, remember people will always interpret your words and actions based on their values and beliefs. Therefore, to let your personality shine, you have no choice but to allow them to see you whatever way they wish to. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow caring what people think of you. 24. Resentment. Even if we can't love our enemies, let's at least love ourselves. Let's love ourselves so much that we won't permit our enemies to control our happiness, our health, and our looks. D#D89 #D94 #D8DC #D89 #D90 #D96 #D80 #D8F #D91 #D8DH #D97 #D9F #D9C #D97S #D9C #D97 #D98W #D97 #D9 #D9 #D1 #D91 #D96 #D8F #D89 #D96 #D8CS #D9C #D89 #D9 #D9CL #D91 #D90 #D91 #D96 #D8F. When you resent people, you're angry at them because they didn't behave the way you wanted them to. Maybe they broke their promises, or perhaps they didn't give you what you expected from them. Perhaps you believed they owed you something, but they failed to deliver. Resentment often builds up when you fail to communicate effectively with the people you resent. That is when you didn't tell them you felt hurt, or didn't communicate your needs and wants, assuming they would naturally cater to them. It can also grow when you did express your feelings, but can't let go of them and forgive. As Nelson Mandela once said, resentment is like drinking poison, and then hoping it will kill your enemies. It just doesn't work. Resenting people. As with any other emotion, resentment will grow in intensity following the formula interpretation plus identification plus repetition equals strong emotions. You can resent someone for years for a rather insignificant event based on your interpretation of the event, your identification with the story you're telling yourself about it, and/or the number of times you replay the event in your mind. Let's say one of your friends betrayed you by not inviting you to a party. In your mind, your friend truly betrayed you and you deeply resent him for it. You can't stop thinking, how could he do that to me? The thought consumes you for weeks, and you decide to cut ties with him. Months later, you're still resenting him. Notice that the event in itself isn't upsetting. What creates resentment is your interpretation of the event. Now, is it possible that your interpretation was wrong? What if your friend assumed you wouldn't like the party? What if he thought you were too busy? Sure, he should have at least invited you, but nobody is perfect. If you'd put aside your interpretation and confronted him at the time, maybe things would have turned out differently. The danger of letting resentment build up. Often, what adds fuel to the fire is your inability or unwillingness to confront the people you resent. Instead of this, you keep revisiting in your mind what you think happened. As a result, your resentment grows stronger as time passes. This is especially true if you regularly interact with people you resent. How to use resentment to grow. Resentment occurs when you are unable to forgive and move on with your life. It is the result of being attached to what was in the past instead of focusing on what could be in the future. When you experience resentment, you are provided with an opportunity to learn how to forgive and let go, and more importantly, how to love yourself. Resentment is here to tell you that you must love yourself and value your peace of mind more than anything else. Your peace of mind must become more important than being right, taking revenge, or hating someone else. In short, moving beyond resentment is making a declaration of love to yourself so you can move on while at the same time showing compassion to others. Loving yourself. Paraphrasing Nelson Mandela's words, resentment is a poison you consented to drink. Resentment are the weeds you allow to grow in your garden. When you experience resentment, you believe that something you were legitimately entitled to was unjustly taken from you. For instance, it could be someone else's trust, respect, or love. As a result, you feel as though you've been attacked personally. Resentment will subsist as long as your need for being right and getting even is more important than your peace of mind. It will keep growing as long as you keep feeding the emotion with thoughts of resentment. And it will remain as long as you repress it. That's why it's important you make your peace of mind a priority and learn to forgive others as well as yourself. Loving others. Your ability to release resentment is linked to your level of compassion. The more compassionate you are, the easier it will be to let go of resentment. One important thing to understand is that people always act based on their level of consciousness or unconsciousness. You may wish someone had acted differently toward you, but if he or she didn't, it's probably because he or she was unable to do so. Thus, rather than saying people are good or bad, it is more accurate to say they are either conscious or unconscious. When they do terrible things to you, it's often because of their lack of consciousness, or the negative emotional state they were in at the time. Sadly, most people are deeply conditioned. Their upbringing leads them to act in a certain way. People often act the same way as their parents, which is why you often hear of people who've been abused by their parents becoming in turn abusive with their children. As Eckhart Tolle wrote in The Power of Now, the mind, conditioned as it is by the past, always seeks to recreate what it knows and is familiar with. Even if it is painful, at least it is familiar. The mind always adheres to the known. The unknown is dangerous because it has no control over it. That's why the mind dislikes and ignores the present moment. In short, the nature of the unconscious human mind is to cling to old patterns and recreate them. Look at your family history, and you'll probably notice these patterns. You'll see how people are conditioned. This shows how difficult it is for people to break free from set patterns. I used to resent my mother for being overly protective. I blamed her for not encouraging me to grow, but instead her actions made me weaker than I already was. Perhaps it was one of the reasons I embarked on a personal development journey. However, I realized she didn't have any bad intentions. She simply meant well and did the best she could. The point is, people do what they can with what they have based on who they are and how much they've been conditioned. They make tons of mistakes as well. We all do. It's part of being human. One of the most ridiculous things we try to do as human beings is to want to change the past. What happened in the past was supposed to happen. Because it did happen. Now, the question is, what are you going to do about it? How to deal with resentment. To start letting go of resentment, we'll discuss the importance of 1. Changing/reevaluating your interpretation. 2. Confronting the situation. 3. Forgiving, breaking free from identification. And 4. Forgetting, stopping the repetition. Resentment results from your interpretation of something that happened to you. This interpretation leads you to feel betrayed and to experience anger or even a desire for revenge. By revisiting the scene in your mind, you allow resentment to build, and, because you avoid confronting the situation or person at the root of your resentment, the emotion continues to grow. To prevent resentment from building, it is necessary for you to reevaluate your interpretation of what happened, while confronting the situation or person you resent. After doing this, you must be willing to forgive and release your resentment. Finally, you must choose to forget. This entails not replaying the scene in your mind over and over again. 1. Changing/reevaluating your interpretation. To put things into perspective, it is important for you to look at your interpretation of what happened. Might you have over-dramatized the situation? Is it possible you misinterpreted something? Ask yourself, what exactly happened? After you remove your interpretation, only the hard facts will remain. Looking at what really happened may provide you with valuable insights, allowing you to replace your current interpretation with a more empowering one. 2. Confronting the situation. If your resentment is directed toward people, perhaps you need to have an honest discussion with them and share how you feel. Often, resentment builds up when you don't share your feelings with the person you resent. This is often due to fear of appearing vulnerable, fear of hurting the other person, or fear of negatively impacting your relationship with that person. If you can't talk to that person directly, an alternative is to write a letter. Even if you don't send it, the simple act of writing the letter may help you release some of your resentment. 3. Forgiving. Now you've found a channel to express yourself, you can start to forgive. You've looked at the hard facts and reevaluated your interpretation. If needed, you had an honest discussion with the person you resent. You did what you had to do, and can now let go. Think of the negative consequences created by resentment. Write down how it affects your happiness and peace of mind. Remember, resentment is the result of your attachment to the past. Forgiveness is simply reconnecting with the only thing that is real, the present, while forgetting about what isn't real, the past. Then release it. Imagine how your life would be, and how you would feel once you've let go of the resentment. Do it right now. Then, let go. Forgive. Remember, forgiving is an act of self-love. You forgive not just because you have compassion, but because you value your happiness more than anything else. As you forgive, you let go of the attachment to your story, and you distance yourself from the thoughts related to it. To let go of resentment, you can use the 5-step process introduced in the section, Letting Go of Your Emotions. 4. Forgetting. Finally, forget. Forgetting is when you stop entertaining thoughts of resentment and simply move on. When such thoughts arise, let them go. Over time, they will lose their power. Action step. Complete the exercise in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow resentment. 25. Jealousy. When you experience jealousy, you desire something someone else has, but you don't currently have. We all feel jealous from time to time, and this is not something you should blame yourself for. In this section, I will explain how jealousy works and provide you with some solutions to deal with it. How to use jealousy to grow. Jealousy stems from the belief, you aren't good enough. It comes from a place of lack and scarcity. You want something someone else has, believing that it would fulfill you. Alternatively, you're afraid of losing something or someone you believe is yours. Jealousy can help you find what you really want. Jealousy can let you know you're on the wrong path, and can help you find out what you really want. For instance, in her book Quiet, Susan Cain explained she would often feel jealous of her friends who were writers or psychologists. Interestingly, even though she was a lawyer at the time, she didn't feel jealous of successful lawyers, as her lawyer friends often did. This led her to realize she wasn't made to be a lawyer. As a result, she changed her career and became a writer. I had a similar experience. While I was a consultant, I didn't envy or look up to successful people in my company. On the other hand, on my personal development journey, I became envious of successful personal development bloggers and YouTubers. I felt particularly jealous of two such people when I realized they were doing exactly what I wanted to do. I imagined how amazing it would be to help other people and make a contribution to society while studying and growing along the way. This is why I created a blog and started writing books. As you can see, jealousy, when properly used, can be beneficial. Exercise. Identify who you are jealous of. Write down who you are jealous of. Now, what does it say about you and what you want from life? Jealousy can signal a scarcity mindset. In other situations, jealousy may indicate you're operating under a scarcity mindset. Let me give you another example from my personal life. When I see best-selling writers, I sometimes become jealous. I feel as though they are stealing my piece of the pie, and I deserve success as much as they do. I'm not proud of this feeling, but I don't blame myself for having it either. This feeling of jealousy stems from the belief there is only a certain amount of success available out there. Thus, every time someone has a little success, they are stealing your piece of the action. Interestingly, this is often not the case. If anything, for writers, the opposite is true. The more a writer can cooperate with other writers, the better chances he or she has to succeed. A writer who tries to do everything on his or her own is likely to fail. This is not limited to writers, of course. Shifting your mindset from one of competition to one of cooperation can help you move from a feeling of scarcity to a feeling of abundance. Nowadays, when I see other writers having success, I remind myself what great news it is. After all, if they can do it, so can I, and the more successful my fellow writers become, the more they are in the position to help me in the future. This also works the other way around. The more I help other writers to succeed, the more they'll be able to help me in the future. As Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything in life you want, if you will just help other people get what they want. Remember, what other people can do, you can do as well. Remember also, success is not a limited resource. Exercise cooperate rather than competing. Think of a time in the past when you felt jealous of someone else's accomplishments. Now, ask yourself why you felt that way. Then, ask yourself, what would it be like to support the person? How could I cooperate with the person? Why is that person's success good for me? Jealousy may tell you to solve self-esteem issues. Perhaps you're afraid your boyfriend or girlfriend may cheat on you, or leave you for someone else. This usually comes from the belief, you aren't good enough, and you need your boyfriend or girlfriend to complete you. Unfortunately or fortunately, the same way you can't control what people think of you or how they behave, you can't control your loved one's thoughts or behaviors either. Often, the very same desire to control your partner is what pushes them further away. While feeling jealous from time to time is normal, if you're excessively jealous, it is essential you look within you. Your insecurities and fears usually come from a lack of self-esteem and from the fear that you can't or won't be loved. Jealousy may lead to some of the following behaviors. Trying to control your partner, you may check your partner's phone or emails or prevent them from going out to see their friends. Testing your partner to see whether he or she loves you, you may expect your partner to behave in a certain way, and when he or she doesn't, you feel betrayed. This stems from the belief that you shouldn't have to tell your partner what you want or need. He or she should be able to guess. Imagining things that aren't there, you make up all sorts of stories in your mind by extrapolating facts. I invite you to refer to the section, Not Being Good Enough, to discover how to develop a healthier self-esteem. Jealousy may signal you to stop comparing yourself with others. One kind of lingering discontent, shared by millions, is the notion that others are happier than they are. I assure you they are not. If you could only see the secret sorrows of those whose smiles and activities seem to indicate happiness. If you could only see how fervently they wish to be somewhere else doing something different, being someone other than who they are. D hashtag D80 hashtag D9 hashtag D96 hashtag D97 hashtag D96H hashtag D97 hashtag D9 F hashtag D89 hashtag D9 hashtag D8C T hashtag D90 hashtag D8DP hashtag D97 hashtag D9 F hashtag D80 hashtag D9 hashtag D97 hashtag D8EY hashtag D97 hashtag D9D hashtag D9 of S hashtag D9D hashtag D98 hashtag D8D hashtag D9 hashtag D95 hashtag D91 hashtag D96 hashtag D8C. Jealousy often results from comparison with others. It is important to realize this type of comparison is generally as counterproductive as it is biased. Indeed, you seldom compare apples to apples. You look at some of your friends' successes, but you fail to realize this is only part of the picture. While they may seem happy and successful on the surface, it is quite possible they are unhappy, or even depressed. The point is, rather than assuming your friends are happier than you are, it is better to assume that you are as happy as they are. Also, guard against looking only at areas in which your friends seem to have it better than you. Perhaps you focus on the fact they're making more money than you, or have a partner while you are single. Or perhaps you envy them for some of their natural strengths and abilities. The problem here is you fail to make an apple-to-apple comparison. You dismiss your own strengths or qualities, which make you feel as though you're not as good as they are. Even worse, you may often compare yourself with several other people. You look at areas in which they are successful, and then you look at your own life to see how well you compare. Of course, not very well. How could you compete with the combined strengths of several people? Can you see how biased and unrealistic this type of comparison is? Yet, this is what many of us do, albeit unconsciously. The bottom line is, if you feel jealous, it may be because you engage in this type of unfair comparison. Instead, why not compare your today's self with your yesterday's self? After all, the only thing you can do is to try to be better than you were yesterday, last month, or last year. Because we all start with different circumstances, skills, and personalities, there is no such thing as a fair comparison. Exercise Compare Apples to Apples. This exercise will help you compare yourself to others more fairly. Select someone you often compare yourself with. Write down all the things you're doing better than that person. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow jealousy. 26. Depression. The hardest thing about depression is that it is addictive. It begins to feel uncomfortable not to be depressed. You feel guilty for feeling happy. P hashtag D80 hashtag D9C hashtag D80W hashtag D80 hashtag D96 hashtag D9C hashtag D2 hashtag D95 hashtag D90 hashtag D90 hashtag D91 hashtag D80 hashtag D91 hashtag D89 hashtag D96. Non-clinical depression occurs when you're not where you want to be in life, you have lost any hope to ever be and can't accept it. This might happen after a tragic event in your life, or more progressively as some aspects of your life slowly fall apart. Depression results from feeling hopeless in one or several areas of your life. Here are some examples. You lost your job and have no hope of finding a new one to match your expectations. You're sick and have no hope to recover as well as you would like to. You are divorced from your partner and can only see your kids once in a while. You have little hope of finding a suitable partner. You're in so much debt that it seems as though you'll never get out of it. You suffered a bereavement. While the events above are tragic, depression can also be created out of more ordinary, less severe events. For instance, some people may spend so much time dwelling on the past or worrying about the future they eventually become depressed. This may happen even though no significant events have occurred in their lives. It is essential to remind yourself that depression, like other emotional states, is neither good nor bad, it just is. You are not your depression. You existed before it, you exist during it, and all things being equal, you will exist after it. Depression is an active process. While it may seem as though depression is happening to you, it is in fact created by the negative thoughts you identified with. Thus, you do have some responsibility in creating your depression. Does it mean you should feel guilty or beat yourself up for being depressed? Of course not. Never. In fact, you should never beat yourself up for any of the emotions you feel. That would be pointless. What it means, however, is that, because you've played a part in creating your current emotional state, you also have the power to get out of it. And that's great news, right? Remember Dr. David K. Reynolds' first-hand experience with depression. He wrote the following. Depression can be created by sitting slouched in a chair, shoulders hunched, head hanging down. Repeat these words over and over. There's nothing anybody can do. No one can help. It's hopeless. I'm helpless. I give up. Shake your head, sigh, cry. In general, act depressed, and the genuine feeling will follow in time. D hashtag D89 hashtag D9E hashtag D91 hashtag D8CK or hashtag D80 hashtag D1 hashtag D96 hashtag D97 hashtag D94 hashtag D8C hashtag D9BC hashtag D97 hashtag D96 hashtag D9B hashtag D9C hashtag D9 hashtag D9D hashtag D8B hashtag D9C hashtag D91 hashtag D9E hashtag D8DL hashtag D91 hashtag D9E hashtag D91 hashtag D96 hashtag D8F. David K. Reynolds' depression was entirely self-created. It was an active process that involved adopting a certain body language, repeating certain words, and having certain thoughts. He had to act in a certain way to become depressed. The good news is that because you have the power to create depression, you also have the power to climb out of it. However, in a negative state such as depression, ignoring negative thoughts and replacing them with more positive ones can be extremely challenging. Even if you try to think positive thoughts of gratitude, joy, or happiness at first, they will seem to have no power. But you may experience other negative emotions, such as anger, for instance. You may ignore your anger at first. Your friends may even encourage you to do so. They would rather see you quiet and depressed than angry. However, sometimes anger may help you move up the emotional ladder and overcome depression. Keep in mind, any emotions other than depression can help, and learn to embrace whatever emotional state seems to give you more energy, and therefore provide more power to move up the emotional ladder. David K. Reynolds also suggests that feelings fluctuate over time even with depressed people. He wrote, "In the deepest depression there are ripples and waves of somewhat lighter moods. You can use moments when you feel slightly better to take whatever action may be beneficial to you at that time." How to use depression to grow. Depression is a sign you've lost touch with reality. Have you noticed that human beings are one of the few species on Earth that have the ability to become depressed? This is because they are the only ones who can get lost in their mind and become enslaved by negative thoughts and disempowering stories. Depression is a sign that you need to move away from your mind by letting go of your worries about the past future or your interpretation of the present situation and reconnect to the present moment. It can be a powerful invitation to let go of the identity you've been clinging to for so many years. This identity is what led you to believe you should be doing certain things, making a certain amount of money, adopting a certain lifestyle, or developing a certain social status. Depression invites you to reconnect with your body and emotions while getting out of your head. After all, didn't your mind create the depression in the first place? Some people who experience severe grief, sadness, or depression like to keep themselves busy to avoid thinking. When depressed, more thinking is seldom the solution. You rarely see people getting out of depression by using their mind. Therefore, instead of thinking, you want to reconnect with your body. Exercising is a great way to do this, and has been shown to be effective in improving your mood. For additional information, refer to the section The Benefits of Exercising. In some rare cases, severe depression can lead people to separate from their mind. When this happens, their story suddenly drops. Apparently, this is what happened to Eckhart Tolle, as he recalls in his book, The Power of Now. He had a sudden awakening and his mind stopped. Here is what he wrote about his experience. This withdrawal must have been so complete that this false suffering self immediately collapsed, just as if a plug had been pulled out of an inflatable toy. #D8 #D93 #D90 #D89 #D9 #D9 CT #D97 #D94 #D94 #D8. In summary, depression tells you to let go of your ego and reconnect with reality. It invites you to get out of your mind, which can only recall the past or anticipate the future, and live more in the present. Severe depression may require the help of a professional, but for milder depression, here are some mediating strategies. Exercise. Reconnect with your body and your emotions. To overcome depression, it is essential for you to escape your mind. It's easier to feel your way out of depression than to think your way out of it. I would venture to say that most people spend over 90% of their lives in their mind. They have only rare moments of lucidity when they are fully aware and present. For instance, they don't listen to people, but they judge and interpret what they say, anticipate what they'll say next, or get lost in their thoughts. All these things happen at the mind level, and show how people are not fully present. Because they either live in the past or in the future, i.e. in their mind, they experience a number of negative emotions. Below are some of the things you can do to reconnect with your body and your emotions. Exercise. As previously discussed, exercising is a great way to calm your mind and connect with your body, and it has a positive effect on your mood. Meditate. Meditation is an effective way to observe your mind and stop identifying with your thoughts so heavily. Meditation is simply a tool to help you reconnect with reality by observing thoughts, emotions, and sensations instead of getting lost in your mind. Activity. Getting busy allows you to avoid excessive thinking. Instead of feeding your depression with constant negative thoughts, concentrate your attention on something else. Focus on others. As mentioned in Dale Carnegie's book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Alfred Adler used to say to his melancholia patients, "You can be cured in 14 days if you follow this prescription." Try to think every day how you can please someone. Whether or not it is accurate, focusing on others can certainly help you forget about your own issues and focus on something more positive. Unfortunately, when you feel depressed, you won't want to do any of these things. However, as you start moving and start keeping yourself busy, your situation will gradually improve and it will become easier and easier. Thus, it is important to take things just one step at a time. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow depression. 27. Fear/discomfort. Life always begins with one step outside of your comfort zone. S hashtag D90 hashtag D89 hashtag D96 hashtag D96 hashtag D97 hashtag D96 Ella hashtag D94 hashtag D8C hashtag D80 hashtag D9 hashtag D91 hashtag D96 hashtag D9B hashtag D98 hashtag D91 hashtag D9 hashtag D89 hashtag D9C hashtag D91 hashtag D97 hashtag D96 hashtag D89 hashtag D94 hashtag D89 hashtag D9D hashtag D9C hashtag D90 hashtag D97 hashtag D9 Whenever we try something new, we experience anxiety. We are afraid of the unknown. This is why we like to maintain our daily routine and stay within our comfort zones. From our brain's point of view, this makes perfect sense. If our current habits allow us to be safe and avoid any potential threat to our survival or the survival of our ego, why bother changing them? This explains why we often keep the same routine or have the same thoughts over and over. It is also why we may experience a lot of internal resistance when trying to change ourselves. Thus, when we try to move beyond our comfort zones, we experience fear and distress. Now, do we want to stay in the same place most of our lives and avoid taking any risks, or do we want to pursue our dreams and see what we are truly capable of becoming? We have to remember, most of our fears are a threat only to our ego, not to our survival. Generally, they aren't physical threats, but imaginary ones. If we play it safe, we risk missing out on life, and we may regret it later. Below are common fears you may experience. Fear of rejection. You're afraid of being rejected. This may be physical rejection from a specific group, but it is generally more subtle. For instance, you may be afraid of making a comment people could disapprove of, asking someone out and being turned down, or sharing your work and being criticized for it. Fear of failure. You're afraid of failing. This usually comes from the deepest fear of not being good enough, i.e., you are afraid of being ridiculed and believe that failure will erode your self-esteem. Fear of loss. Human beings have an aversion to loss, which is why we are often more motivated to prevent a loss than to secure a gain. Fear of disturbing. You're afraid of disturbing people, perhaps due to the belief you're not important enough. As a result, you may feel reluctant to affirm yourself for fear of appearing selfish. Fear of success. You're afraid of success. You may worry you won't be able to sustain it with all the added pressure on your shoulders. How to use fear to grow. The fear of doing something new is often a sign you should go ahead and do it anyway. This indicates a great opportunity for personal growth. Fear, as with any other emotion, only exists in your mind. This is why we often realize what a fool we've been after we've completed something we were initially wary of starting. People who end up reaching their wildest goals often do so because they are willing to leave their comfort zone. Over time, they learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Picture one thing you were once afraid to do that is now no big deal for you. For instance, I bet you were scared the first time you drove or on your first day at work. Now, didn't you get used to it? The truth is, people have the formidable ability to learn. The key is to grow accustomed to experiencing discomfort once in a while. By not facing your fears on a regular basis, you will greatly limit your potential for development. Staying inside your comfort zone can also erode your sense of self-esteem, as in the back of your mind, you know you're not doing what you're supposed to do. There is a law in nature, things either grow or die. The same goes for human beings. When humans don't move beyond their comfort zone, they start dying inside. Don't let that happen to you. As Benjamin Franklin said, some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. Make sure some people doesn't include you. Taking action. The first step to move out of your comfort zone is to realize even the most successful people on earth feel fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is taking action despite the fear. Courage is realizing fear is not going to go away and doing what you want to do anyway. Without fear, there is no courage. As you face fear on a regular basis, you cultivate courage and turn it into a habit. You don't need to avoid fear or numb yourself to it before you can take action. Instead, You must accept the fact that fear won't go away and get used to it. Then, you must decide to take action. Exercise. Move out of your comfort zone. To start moving out of your comfort zone, you can ask yourself, what is the one thing I should be doing, but fear has made me procrastinate over? Once you do that one thing, you'll likely experience a sense of pride and of being alive. This is a sign you're on the right track. See it as the reward your brain gives you for moving beyond your comfort zone. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook, Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow fear/discomfort. 28. Procrastination. Only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone. #D89 #D80 #D94 #D97 #D91 #D8 #D89 #D9B #D9B #D97. Procrastination is largely an emotional issue. While there are effective techniques to deal with procrastination for the most part, learning to manage your emotions properly is the key to overcoming your tendency towards delayed action. Why you procrastinate. There are different reasons why people procrastinate. Below are some of them. The task is boring. The task is seen as unimportant. The task is too challenging or perceived as such. You're afraid you'll do a poor job or you are habitually lazy. Imagine if the task was lots of fun, perceived as important, and so easy you couldn't fail. Would you procrastinate? I believe fear is the main reason people procrastinate. Afraid they'll do a poor job, people would rather put off a task. While they may convince themselves that the task is not urgent or important, or that they are tired, often, the truth is they are scared. Note that procrastination isn't in itself a sign you are lazy, or something is wrong with you. We all procrastinate. However, if you regularly suffer from procrastination, it may indicate you either have self-esteem issues or you lack self-discipline. How to use procrastination to grow. Procrastination might suggest you believe too much in what your mind is telling you. Instead of being the master of your mind, you've become its slave. This comes at the cost of not living the life you want, not accomplishing your dreams, and experiencing low self-esteem, guilt, and unhappiness. Remember, when your mind tells you, you're tired, let's rest, or let's do it tomorrow, it's not an order. You don't have to follow it. You aren't your emotions. Neither are you your mind. No matter what thought may cross your mind, you can choose to either accept it or ignore it. Now I would like to share a 16-step process to overcome procrastination. Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it might first appear. How to crush procrastination in 16 simple steps. 1. Understand what's hidden behind procrastination. The first step is to understand why you procrastinate. As we've discussed previously, there are specific reasons behind procrastination. Usually, it has to do with fear, and the mind tells you the best way to avoid fear is simply to do nothing. In other words, to procrastinate. Another reason you procrastinate is because the task is difficult. You want to avoid pain as much as possible and maximize pleasure. This is how your brain works. You may also procrastinate because you lack motivation. This happens when the task you work on isn't part of a bigger vision that excites you. If you lack motivation, ask yourself why. Then, consider the following solutions. Delegate the task. Eliminate the task. Reframe the way you perceive the task to make it part of a bigger and more exciting vision. Restructure the task so that it becomes easier and/or just get started. See Step 13. Spend time identifying all the reasons behind your procrastination. Be honest with yourself. 2. Remind yourself of the cost of procrastination. Procrastination is not a minor issue and comes with severe consequences. The direct consequence of procrastination is that you'll achieve far less than you could during your time spent on Earth. The indirect consequence of procrastination is that you may feel bad about yourself. You may blame yourself for not doing what you know you should be doing, which erodes your self-esteem and creates unnecessary worries. Exercise the cost of procrastination. Now, take a sheet of paper and write down what procrastination costs you. How does it affect your peace of mind, your self-esteem, your ability to achieve your dreams? The more you're sick and tired of procrastination, the more likely you will be to actually do something about it. 3. Uncover your story. The third step to overcome procrastination is to identify the story behind it. What are you telling yourself when you feel the urge to procrastinate? What thoughts cross your mind? What excuses do you use? Some common excuses are: I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do a poor job, and/or it's not really important. Let's address some of these excuses right away. I'm too tired. While that may be true, you must realize you're not your mind. You don't need to listen to your mind. Navy SEAL David Goggins uses the 40% rule. This rule states that even when you think you can't take it anymore, you're using only 40% of your brain's capacity. The bottom line is you have great reserves of energy you can tap into when you feel tired. Therefore, working 2 hours on your side business after work isn't going to kill you. I'll do a poor job. If you schedule a task for today, it means you believe you can do it. Thus, the fear of doing a poor job isn't the issue here. After all, if you think you'll do a poor job today, what makes you think you'll do a better job tomorrow? You most likely won't. That's just a story you're telling yourself. I'll do it tomorrow. Doing it tomorrow might not be a big deal. However, if you can't discipline yourself to finish today's tasks, what are the chances you will design your ideal life in the future? Remember, disciplining yourself to complete the task in front of you is, ultimately, what will allow you to create your future life. Time, effort, and self-discipline are required to create anything of value in your life. It's not really important. Even if that is true, not completing a task you scheduled creates an open loop. Then, somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that you still have to complete that task. If you keep putting off tasks, you'll soon start losing motivation. At some point, you may even end up feeling stuck without knowing why. Exercise. Write down your excuses. Start becoming aware of all the excuses you come up with. Write them down, then address them one by one. They control you because you let them to. Commit to addressing them. 4. Rewrite your story. Look at your excuses. Are you too tired? Do you lack time? Are you trying to do everything perfectly? Now you've identified your story, create a new, more empowering story to neutralize your old excuses. See the examples below. I don't have time for that. I find and make time for whatever I'm committed to. I'm too tired. I have control over my mind, and I have more energy than I imagine. When I schedule a task, I complete it. Then, create affirmations or mantras around your new story. Repeat them to yourself every morning and throughout the day until they become part of your identity. Remember, procrastination is a habit. You want to reprogram your mind and implement a new habit, the habit of working on the tasks you schedule whether you feel like it or not. For more, refer to the section, Conditioning Your Mind. 5. Clarify your why. Procrastination is often due to a lack of motivation. When you're excited about a goal, you don't run away from it, do you? No. You can't wait to work on it. Look at the tasks you regularly procrastinate over. Why is that? How can you make these tasks part of your vision to make you feel more motivated? Can you adjust these tasks? Can you learn something from these tasks? Can you envision yourself feeling proud of yourself as you complete these tasks? The stronger your reason, your why, the easier it will be for you to overcome your tendency to procrastinate. 6. Identify the ways you distract yourself. The next step is to notice all the ways you distract yourself. What are your own ways to procrastinate? Is it going for a walk, watching videos on YouTube, drinking coffee, or perhaps reading books on how to overcome procrastination? Unless you're aware of all the ways procrastination manifests in your life, you'll have a hard time overcoming it. Exercise. Make a list of all the ways you procrastinate. Take a couple of minutes to write down all the way you procrastinate using the free workbook. 7. Stay with the urge. As you feel the urge to insert your distraction here, stay with the emotion. How do you feel? Allow yourself to feel the emotion. Don't judge yourself. Don't blame yourself. Just accept what is. As you do so, you'll gain more control of your mind. Refer to the chapter on letting go of your emotions for more information. 8. Record everything you do. To assess your productivity and gather insights on ways you procrastinate, record everything you do in a notebook. Do it for 1 week. Each time you switch from one activity to another, write it down. Make sure you write how much time you spend on each task. By the end of the week, you'll know how much time you spend doing real work, and how much time you spend distracting yourself. Be careful, you might be shocked. 9. Set a clear intent behind everything you do. Before working on a task, make sure you know exactly what needs to be done. Ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? What will the end result look like? This way, you'll avoid giving your mind room to create excuses. 10. Prepare your environment. Your mind doesn't like what's difficult. It wants things to be easy. Thus, make sure you remove any friction or obstacle so you can work on your task immediately. For instance, if you want to run, have your running gear ready next to your bed so you can go run right after you wake up, after a full warm-up first, of course. For computer-related tasks, remove all distractions from your desk, and make sure you can access all the files you need immediately. 11. Start small. Instead of putting a lot of pressure on yourself, why not start small? Rather than writing 2 pages of your manuscript, maybe you can write 1 paragraph. Rather than exercising for 1 hour, why not start with 5 minutes? Making your tasks smaller will help you overcome procrastination. Not only that, but it will also allow you to build momentum. So, whenever you have an option, make sure you start small to reduce the pressure. 12. Create quick wins. Facing daunting tasks every day will set you up for failure and kill your motivation. Learn to chunk down your tasks and set small milestones, ones you can achieve easily. This will allow you to form the habit of completing your tasks 100%. Increase your self-esteem as you accumulate quick wins and reduce the urge you have to procrastinate. Set small goals every day and accomplish them consistently for a few weeks. By doing so, you will increase your self-esteem and be better equipped to complete challenging tasks in the future. Remember, getting things done is a habit, and as with any other habit, it can be practiced and learned. 13. Just get started. Often when you start working on a task, you'll enter what is called the flow, and things become effortless. In these instances, you become so focused on your task, motivation will no longer be an issue. The best way to enter a flow state is by getting started. To make it easier, decide to work on a task for only 5 minutes and see what happens. Remove any pressure or desire to perform well and give yourself permission to do a poor job. You'll often end up working on the task for a lot longer than originally planned. Notice that the more attention your task requires, the more likely you are to enter the flow quickly. In addition, you can use the 5-second rule introduced by Mel Robbins in her book, The 5-Second Rule. This rule states that you only have a 5-second window to take action before your mind talks you out of it. For more on the 5-second rule, refer to the section, Conditioning Your Mind. 14. Create daily habits to support you. If you tend to procrastinate on important tasks, commit to working on them first thing in the morning. For instance, if you want to write a book, start writing every morning. Start small. For instance, set a tiny goal of writing 50 words a day, and do it every morning. As you maintain this schedule, you'll develop a writing habit, and make procrastination less likely. 15. Use visualization. You can also use visualization to help you overcome procrastination. Below are 2 specific ways to do so. 1. Visualize yourself doing the task. See yourself turning on the computer, opening the file and writing. Imagine yourself putting on your running shoes and going for a run. This type of visualization has been shown to increase the likelihood you work on the task. Try it out. 2. Visualize yourself having completed the task. How would you feel once the task is done? Liberated? Happy? Proud? Now, feel as you would feel if you had completed your task. By doing so, you'll experience a boost of motivation that will encourage you to work on your task. 16. Build accountability. If you have a hard time completing a task, you might need some accountability. When I'm likely to procrastinate, I like to send a message to a friend and tell him I will complete a certain task by a specific date. Another way to build accountability is to have an accountability partner you communicate with on a regular basis. You could talk to him or her once a week and share your list of goals. You could look at the important tasks you'll likely to put off and set a specific deadline for each one. Then you could send an email to your accountability partner to let him or her know when you completed a task. If you follow this 16-step process, you should be able to overcome or at least significantly reduce your tendency to procrastinate. Action step. Follow the 16-step process using the corresponding section of the workbook section IV. How to use your emotions to grow procrastination. 29. Lack of motivation. People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing, that's why we recommend it daily. Z #D91 #D8FZ #D91 #D8F #D94 #D89 #D9 #D90 #D89 #D94 #D80 #D90 #D95 #D89 #D96 #D89 #D96 #D8C #D95 #D97 #D9C #D91 #D90 #D89 #D9C #D91 #D97 #D96 #D89 #D94 #D90 #D98 #D80 #D89 #D93 #D80 #D9. Lacking motivation is usually a sign that you don't have a compelling vision to pursue. People who have an exciting vision seldom lack motivation. While they may experience setbacks along the way and feel frustrated or even mildly depressed, they tend to bounce back quickly by reminding themselves of their vision. Lack of motivation is also a sign you're not following your bliss. It shows there is a misalignment between what you do and who you are. The word enthusiastic comes from Greek and means filled with the divine. If you lack enthusiasm, you're probably out of touch with the essence of who you are. I've never heard of a Nobel Prize winner retiring early because he or she was bored. In fact, most of them will work until the day they die. This is because they have a clear purpose. Similarly, I've never seen billionaires selling their companies to retire on a tropical island. They may have tried, but quickly realize how boring their lives have become. The point is you don't inherently lack motivation, you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. You haven't stretched yourself enough and haven't created a vision that inspires you. Perhaps you're stuck at the same dead-end job that bores you to tears. Or maybe you're at your current job for the money, or to fulfill your parents' wishes. Then, it's no wonder you lack motivation. Fortunately, you can get your motivation back. How to use motivation, or lack thereof, to grow. A lack of motivation says you need to design a life that is more in line with who you are. It entails having a deep knowledge of your strengths, personality, and preferences, while making sure you leverage them on a day-to-day basis. Knowing your strengths. When you spend most of your day doing things you suck at, how do you feel? Probably not very motivated. Sadly, many people are stuck in jobs that do not allow them to use their strengths. As a result, they keep struggling and keep wondering if their fate is to suffer the same way for the next 40 years. I've experienced firsthand the difference between working at a job you suck at and working on something you love and feel good at. I can attest that the level of motivation and energy you have when you do what feels right to you can be extraordinary. Have you noticed you tend to like the things you're good at? You may not necessarily enjoy the task in itself, but receiving positive feedback gives you a sense of pride and make you feel good about yourself. Now, if you were constantly reminded what a poor job you're doing, would you still love that same task? The point is there are things you are good at as well as things you enjoy doing. Once you identify the tasks you're good at and spend as much time as you can on them, you'll feel more motivated. You may even find yourself enjoying tasks you would never have imagined simply because you're good at them. To be able to focus on your strengths, you may have to redesign your current job description, change jobs within the same company, or change your career altogether. Remember, if every second of the day is a struggle, you're probably not doing what you're supposed to do. You have strengths, and your job is to find them. Knowing your personality. This is somewhat related to the previous point, since your personality partially determines what you're good at. For instance, if you're an introvert, you're likely to take different career choices than if you were an extrovert. You may prefer spending most of your time alone or in small groups and may stay away from jobs that require you to interact with clients all day long. You may find yourself performing better in a quiet environment. Your core values will also affect your level of motivation. Perhaps independence is vital for you. If so, being self-employed might be a better idea than having a 9-to-5 job. Or maybe you like novelty and want to be learning constantly. If so, doing the same repetitive job might not bring you much satisfaction. Knowing what motivates you. Sometimes you lack motivation because you set a goal in a way that doesn't inspire you. While the goal may be something you genuinely want, the way you frame it, or work on it, is just not motivating you. Let's say you want to lose weight. If none of the reasons behind your goal touch you at an emotional level, you won't feel motivated, and will have a hard time achieving your goal. Thus, your job is to find out what losing weight will do for you. Ask yourself why you want to lose weight. Keep asking yourself why until you find something that resonates with you at an emotional level. Remember, you seldom want to lose weight because it's the right thing to do. You want to lose weight because it will make you feel a certain way. This is the meaning you give to losing weight, and you must get it right if you want to succeed. Now, you can also ask yourself why you don't want to lose weight. It may help you uncover the reasons why you're struggling losing weight. If you overeat because it makes you feel good, you need to ask, why is that? Is it a habit? Is it because you're stressed? Is it because of your environment? Is it a way to escape from something? Knowing why you're doing something is important. Once you have a strong why, who knows what you can accomplish? Motivation comes and goes. Here, it is worth mentioning you don't need to be motivated all the time. Motivation comes and goes. There is no need to beat yourself up when you feel uninspired. To help you take action when you lack motivation, it is important to have a system that allows you to stay on track with your goals. Build the self-discipline needed to do things when you don't feel like it, and have self-compassion and love yourself instead of blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong in your life. Putting a system in place means having a daily routine that allows you to move toward your goal. For instance, it could be working on a task for a certain amount of time first thing in the morning. Sticking to that ritual every day is one way to build self-discipline. Another way is to set small goals every day and achieve them consistently. Having self-compassion means encouraging yourself instead of beating yourself up. To learn more about how to create a morning ritual, you can refer to my book, Wake Up Call: How to Take Control of Your Morning and Transform Your Life. Feeling stuck. Sometimes you feel stuck. You're not motivated to do anything, or you feel overwhelmed and don't necessarily know why. This often results from either having too many open loops in your life, or from procrastinating on a major task. Let's see what you can do to unstick yourself. A simple 3-step process to unstuck yourself. Whenever you feel stuck, try the following 3-step process. 1. Make a list of all the tasks that need to be done. 2. Identify one task you've been putting off. 3. Complete that task. There is often one specific task you've been putting off for a while. While this may not necessarily be a difficult task, once you commit and finally complete it, you feel so good you may end up completing many more tasks. As a result, you will start building momentum and allow yourself to get unstuck. If you cannot work on that one specific task, start with a less daunting one. This will also help you build momentum. Closing open loops. If you've been putting off too many tasks or have too many unfinished projects, you can do the following. 1. Make a list of all the tasks or projects you want to complete. 2. Set aside a specific time to complete them. Perhaps, just a few hours could allow you to finish many of these tasks. Or maybe you need longer. If so, take more time. 3. For bigger projects in the next few days or weeks, focus on only one project until it is complete. 4. Reschedule, delegate, or abandon some of your projects. To learn how to get your motivation back, you can refer to the second book in the Mastery series, Master Your Motivation, by clicking here. Action step. Refer to the exercises in the corresponding section of the workbook. Section IV. How to use your emotions to grow lack of motivation. Conclusion. Thank you for purchasing this book. My sincere hope is that it helped you make sense of your emotions and gave you the tools you need to start taking better control of them. Remember, the quality of your emotions determines the quality of your life. Therefore, learning how to change yourself and your environment to experience more positive emotions is essential for your well-being. Let's face it, you'll keep experiencing negative emotions throughout your life, but hopefully, each time you'll remind yourself that your emotions are not you and will learn to accept them as they are before letting them go. You're not sad, depressed, jealous, or angry. You are what witnesses these emotions. You are what remains after these temporary feelings fade away. Your emotions are here to guide you. Learn as much as you can from them, and then let them go. Don't cling to them as if your existence depends on them. It doesn't. Don't identify with them as though they define you. They don't. Instead, use your emotions to grow and remember you are beyond emotions. How could you not be? They come and go, but you stay. Always. About the author. Thibaut Meurisse. Thibaut Meurisse is an author, coach, and founder of whatispersonaldevelopment.org. He has been featured on major personal development websites such as Lifehack, Tiny Buddha, Motivation Grid, Pick-to-Brain, Dumb Littleman, or Finer Minds. Obsessed with self-improvement and fascinated by the power of the brain, his personal mission is to help people realize their full potential and reach higher levels of fulfillment and consciousness. You can connect with him on his Facebook page. Learn more about Thibaut at amazon.com/author/Thibaut Meurisse. Bibliography. A Million Thoughts. Learn all about meditation from the Himalayan mystic, Om Swami. Ask and it is given. Learning to manifest your desires, Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks. Awareness, Anthony de Mello. Breaking the Chain of Low Self-Esteem, Marilyn Sorenson and Barry Zwicker. Breathwalk, Reading Your Way to a Revitalized Body, Mind and Spirit, Gurucharan Singh Khalsa and Yogi Bhajan. Constructive Living, David K. Reynolds. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Dale Carnegie. Radical Honesty, How to Transform Your Life by Telling the Truth, Brad Blanton. The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment, Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Your Supermind, Vernon Howard. The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, A New Paradigm for Sustainable Success, Jim Diethmer and Diana Chapman. The Sedona Method, Hale Dwoskin and Jack Canfield. The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, Nathaniel Brandon.